I think we are live.
Awesome. Awesome. So, thank you everyone for joining us. My name is Michael Pickens. I'm the vice chair of the We the People Party here in Washington State. And then we have Tony Kelly. Tony, introduce yourself.
Hi. Hi, my name is Tony Kelly, and I am the state chair for We the People Party in Washington State. So
Awesome.
we are just here today to introduce ourselves so that you can get to know us and talk about some of the issues that we've got going on.
Well, I think that the best thing about what we've been doing over the past 5 months is that it's not just you and I anymore. There's a big group of people that are coming on board to join us on our mission, right? And our mission is to bring, direct representation to the citizenry. And not only that, but empower people who have previously thought that they didn't have any power. Right.
I think that's the big thing, right? Is empowering people to let them know that it's not just these longtime politicians and their family members coming in after them to take their positions, that's not what we need. And that's not the way that it has to be.
Yeah. So even at the local level, which is, the level that we're going to be focusing on over the next few years, those that go out into the community and start talking about issues that matter in a way that brings people together, those are the ones that are going to start building that community that they need to get elected. Right. And if you look at the last election season, there were so many unopposed seats, right?
Had to have been at least 50% in every single area that I looked at.
Yeah, so here in my area, in my county, there was 54 positions up and 44 went unopposed, right? So 10 of those positions, 2 people were going against the same seat. And then when I looked into all the candidates as well, even the ones that were going against each other, there's about half of them where their positions were almost exactly the same, and they were just part of local community that they all want the same thing. So there isn't really much competition.
Right. Yeah. I even saw a whole bunch in there that were that there was not even, they didn't waste their time with anything other than their name and a phone number or an email address. There was no statement, there was no photo, there was no information about what they were going to do for you whatsoever, because that's how little they're concerned about whether or not they're going to have any competition.
Yeah, absolutely. So our plan is to empower and train We the People candidates all across Washington State, right?
Very exciting.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about what's going on with SNAP, right? Because that's huge in the news right now. People aren't getting their benefits. I just saw yesterday that people in Washington State got their full benefits, right? But what would be a We the People solution to this problem?
Right. So as we were discussing earlier, at the federal level, being able to separate everything rather than having one big spending bill so that each thing is voted on separately. I think that's a fantastic idea. So that way there isn't any defunding of everything at once, because that just creates chaos. And, as the Democrats kept saying, they're just using it as this is the only leverage that they had, was in order to use it against the federal, use us against the Republicans, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so I think you're absolutely correct. Separating all of the spending, this department, this program, whatever it is, all separate votes. And then this will never happen again if that's what should happen. Right?
Yeah. It would definitely solve a lot of problems. I think it's definitely an interesting idea. And so then I guess the next thing is, how do you get How do we get people into that kind of a position in order to do those things?
Yeah. So I think what we have to do as an organization and those that want to volunteer with us, we have to talk about the solutions that will actually benefit all of society, right? So the single issue bills, single issue spending, right? We go through each one, Congress, the Senate, they're voting on them separately and they can't use anything as leverage because right now all I'm seeing in the mainstream media is that the Republicans are holding back on Obamacare, right? And they don't want people to have cheaper health care, right? And then the Republicans are saying, oh, the Democrats are being stubborn and they're not wanting, people to eat food.
Right.
And
And all we
all
want
needs
is to have the solutions. We just need to fix it. Nobody cares,
yeah.
nobody cares about all of this bickering back and forth. They just want it fixed.
Yeah, so but the real thing is why they won't do it, why they won't split it all up is because there's all this, pork barrel spending. And it was funny. One of my realtor came by the other day and he's older and he was like, yeah, back in my day, we used to call it pork barrel spending. And he's talking about the kickbacks that are built into these bills that are 1,000+ pages long, right? So that's why they created these huge bills that have all these things in there that we're going to spend money on, is because they can hide stuff because the whole thing gets spent. If they wanted to, give $1 million to their buddy who owns a cornfield or $1 million to their buddy who owns this other company, like they cannot do that if it gets voted on individually by Congress.
Right. There's no way for them to hide.
Correct. That's why there's these huge bills. None of the people want that though. Like the citizens don't want that. I haven't talked to anyone that was like, "Oh yeah, we should have these huge bills that have all this, graft in there built in."
Right.
No one wants that.
Right.
So,
and then we wonder how they make so much money, right? They have these, reasonable salaries, but they're millionaires.
Yeah, Pelosi is a great example. She's retiring. Like, what is she going to do with her stock picks after she retires,
Well, she's grooming her daughter, if I'm not mistaken, to go in after her. And then that's a whole other part of the problem. If
so
her daughter gets in.
She is grooming her daughter's going to run for her seat, you think?
That is what I've heard. I do not know if that's true, but I heard that her daughter, that they're hoping, I don't know what sense that makes, but it also blows my mind that Pelosi continued to be voted in at all anyway. So, I mean, it would be very sad to me to see her daughter get in. Granted, I don't know her policies. I mean, maybe she's different, but what are the chances of that? You're going to begin, you're just continuing to get the same stuff over and over again because everybody is too busy worrying about whether or not the guy that they hate the most is going to get in and not worrying about voting for something that they're excited about, right?
Yeah.
It's scary to vote for something that you actually feel good about because, oh my God, that other guy might get in. And so we're just going to go with what we know instead of changing anything.
Yeah. I think too, there's a lot of apathy that's been built around this. There's a lot of non-voters. And what I found too, there's a lot of people who begrudgingly vote. Yeah. And what I mean by that is that, there's two bad options on the ballot. And they're like, which one do I pick? Dumb or dumber, right? do I want to vote for a giant douche or a turd sandwich? Like, what am I going to vote for?
Yeah.
There's a lot of that. We had that here this last election, and I've talked to quite a few people locally. And there's a big group of us that only voted for one candidate. We had one candidate that we believed in, that we voted for, and then the rest of the ones, like we were just like, it's a toss-up. Like, I don't know, this one, that one,
Yeah.
I've met both of them, and I'm not impressed by either of them.
Right.
So
Yeah.
they believe in the same things. They just have their own little cliques. A part of, the factioning of like the Democrat Party and the Republican Party, and to see it locally is a very interesting thing, right? Because you have on the Democrat side, you have Democratic Socialists, right, and then you have establishment Democrats. Okay, so that
Right.
they all hate Republicans, right? But they don't like each other too, of those groups. So they fight amongst themselves, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's very
And then
interesting. And then yeah.
you have the same thing on the Republican side with the,
Oh yeah.
traditional type Republicans. And then you have this group of MAGA, and they're not getting along either.
Yeah, so I actually see three different groups on the Republican side. So you have establishment Republicans that, Trump's first run for office, they were anti-Trump. You know what I mean? They were establishment. Mitt Romney, right? These guys.
Right.
Okay. They were anti-Trump, but they were establishment Republican. John McCain, Dick Cheney. You can add these guys in there, right? And then you had the MAGA libertarian conservative coalition in 2016. Now that MAGA low income type group has separated, and the libertarian ultra conservatives are kind of on their own because Trump has gone so far to the left and has become very nationalist and authoritarian, right? So I see three different groups. There's still that Mitt Romney type establishment Republican group, and then there's the MAGA Donald Trump forever. I love Donald Trump. He's the man. Yeah, he can do no wrong, whatever he says. And then there's the Thomas Massie, Rand Paul, Marjorie Taylor Greene. There's that side of the Republican Party, the libertarianish side. So those are the three separate groups that I see, because I'm friends with all of them.
Right. Yeah.
I see.
No, I don't see anything wrong with that either, though. I mean, I have friends in every different political view possible, and I love it that way. So.
Yeah, but the great thing about what we're doing is that we're creating something new.
Right.
Right. And it might not be at that level of what's happening at the federal government, but if we start at the local level, if we start here, those candidates that do get elected at the local level, they can move up to state house, to state senate, maybe Congress, right?
Yeah.
We can keep going.
Yeah. So. And it makes more sense to start local and small so that we can prove to people what we want to do, and that we can prove to people that the transparency that we want to bring to everything is going to really make a difference. And then we start getting up into the bigger and bigger races, because it doesn't make sense to have one or two people in Senate and everything, because you're just going to get run over anyway. So we need to hit it hard low, so that when we get up there, we can send an army of people like-minded people into Washington and be able to really make a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what's unique about what we have here with We the People is a platform, right? The anti-corruption planks, the anti-corporate interest planks, right? So health freedom, there's so much that is part of our platform that the average person would agree with. And I don't think the Republicans and Democrats have anything close to what we're offering, which is why we've been growing so fast.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It gives a lot of people a lot of hope. There's what was that thing that we were talking about yesterday? Like 67% of people aren't happy with Republican or Democrat.
Oh, yeah.
This is the time. This is the time I think that people finally are going to be ready to go to a third party and think that it really could work. And I think that we have so much to offer people, with the big changes that we want to make, and flipping everything upside down. We're completely doing it different. We are not doing it like any other group out there. So where the fact that we actually give our people the power, and it's not me telling you what you're supposed to think, is new. And I think it's going to catch on like wildfire.
Oh, absolutely. Once we get some candidates on the ballot, it's going to happen here in the next few months. We're going to have some announcements of candidates. But I really think that, once those candidates announce, it's going to grow even faster and further. We've been running ads on Facebook, right?
Yeah.
Can you talk about the growth from that?
Oh my goodness. We went from, let's see, I wish I could remember dates, but roughly weeks ago, my goal was 100. And we started running ads and we grew by 350 people within 1 week. So people are wanting something different and they're looking for things that they can agree on.
Yeah.
And so that is phenomenal growth. I mean, I've helped build businesses and I've never ever had growth like that off of an ad. Like, it's just incredible. So people are really, really excited to have something different to look forward to. And
yeah,
not
absolutely.
the arguing, right? It's not about the infighting and what do I hate about this. It's positivity. Positive.
Yeah, well, this is a thing. It's like there's lots of people in our group, and we may not agree on everything 100%. We may agree on things 70% or 80% or 60%, but we're not focused on the things we disagree on.
Right.
What do we agree on, and how can we work together to make it a reality? Because transparency, corruption, like there's all these issues that we all agree on. Let's focus on those. On those.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. So many things to come. It gets so exciting the more and more that we build and that we grow. And, now live streaming, so that people can really get to know that we're human beings. We're not career politicians that are out there, just trying to get everybody to agree with us. Like, we really want people to come in and have an opinion so that we can make change and grow.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're watching this, if you're watching the repeat of this, if you have a great idea that would bring more benefit to the people, right, and reduce government intrusion into all of our lives, please reach out to us. We'd love to interview you about it. Like, we need to have more robust conversations about the solutions that will improve the lives of the citizens of Washington State. Now, I do believe that, yes, the citizens of America and the world, I get that. But right now, we're focused just on Washington State because that's our organization is We the People Washington. Right?
Absolutely.
Right, Tony?
Yep. Washington first, and then we'll take over everything else.
Yeah, so, I was talking to a local oyster farmer here just north of Long Beach, Washington. And he has an idea, and, the technology of, desalinization, water desalinization, right? So here locally, the water isn't very good. Okay, they're pumping it out of the ground. They're piping it in through these old pipes, and there's a lot of heavy metals in the testing, and it's not good tap water, right? Lots of chemicals added to it, bromine, chlorine,
My goodness.
And, oh yeah, if you look at the testing on your tap water, you'd be blown away. Okay.
Oh yeah.
So he is looking to take one of the desalinization units. It's the size of like a shipping container, right? And start pumping out of the ocean and cleaning the water, basically cleaning the seawater,
right,
pulling all the salt out and be able to provide clean water. So just north of us, there has been an E. coli outbreak in their water supply.
Wow.
Yeah. So they're are septic systems all across the peninsula here where we live,
Right.
right? So basically means that toilet water is going into the ground. Okay. And up in Surfside and Oysterville, their water system is pumping water out of the ground.
Right.
So what has happened is when they did testing, there was E. coli in the water because they're pumping out of the ground with everything. You know, it makes sense for any rational person. Like, we would understand that. And Anthony Barron has been trying to get a desalinization unit up there to supply water from the ocean.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Dubai, Saudi Arabia, there's all these Middle Eastern countries that have taken it down to less than, I think it was 0.001 cent per gallon. That's the cost of, and then they are selling the salt that they're pulling out of the water.
Oh, right. Brilliant.
Yeah. So
that makes so much sense.
That's a local solution.
Right. And so what do the bureaucrats that are in office say about that solution that are still there?
So
no money to be made for them.
They all have a meeting. There's a meeting coming up this week. So this latest crisis has led to them actually being open to new ideas.
Isn't that sad, though, that it has to happen because there's a crisis?
Yep.
You know, I mean, because I know that this idea isn't new, right? I know that
it isn't new.
It isn't a brand new idea. So why on earth is it taking us so long to come up with those solutions? And, you know, it's got to be money driven, obviously.
It is money driven. Yeah.
It's incredible to me that we can't just solve problems.
Yeah. So I attended a local PUD meeting, public utility district meeting, and it was a 2-hour presentation from Bonneville Power. Are you familiar with Bonneville Power?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So they're out Eastern Washington. You know, they still have the dams. We are buying power all the way out here from Bonneville Power, and no one has ever looked into any alternatives to be able to power ourselves. Oh, it was. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I wonder if those two can link together, right? The water and the power.
You can. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have to bring alternatives to the forefront, right? To be able to provide solutions.
Right. People have to be willing to look for solutions.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that people in office that are going to listen to what the people actually want.
Yeah, and that's what I think our organization and our candidates are going to bring to a new level, because our candidates are going to go out there in public, and when someone confronts them, they're going to say, please convince me, tell me why that solution is better. We want the better solution.
Right.
We're not going to be like most politicians, and I see it at the meetings where they just shut it down. They don't want to listen. They don't want to hear. You know, that's where our candidates are going to be different, because we actually give a shit, we care, and we're going to talk to people. If you come to us with a better solution, let's hear it. We want the better solution. We want to be able to improve what we're doing.
Right. Yeah.
Whereas, most Republicans and Democrats, they don't care. They're not going to listen to you. They shut down conversation. We've seen it at our county commissioner meetings. We've seen it at multiple, local meetings.
Well, and that stuff happens because they're doing what they're told, right? They're caring about the things that they're told to care about instead of listening to the people that they serve.
Yes and no. Okay, so yeah, I do believe at the higher levels, those people are being told what to do, and maybe even at the lower levels, right? But it's a different mindset, right? When you come in and it's like, you don't know what you don't know. That's the mindset
Uh,
politicians should have. I don't
you
know
know,
what I don't know.
right. Admitting when you don't know something is difficult for some people, right?
Yeah, but it's not like,
Yeah.
but even it, so look at medicine. Like, if you
Right.
go way back, washing your hands was not standard practice. That became standard practice in like 1930 or something like that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Washing your hands during surgery. So,
Right.
the way I look at it is that these people just don't know what they don't know, right? And a lot of times, their ego is such, what you were referring to, is that they cannot admit that they're wrong or they could be wrong. But if you look at history, like look how many times people were wrong and
Right.
education evolved through the
Well, and
years.
I mean, you can take Einstein as an example. I mean, everybody has held him in such high regard, and they're starting to find, that a lot of his theories they've disproven, or at least a couple of his theories anyway, and that they go farther than what he had stated, and I
Sure.
mean, if Einstein didn't have it 100% right, what on earth makes any of us think we do?
Yeah. So the cool thing about that is that we've built on other people's, education and knowledge and ideas and inventions and everything else. And we keep building on that until, it's been common knowledge, right? So we just have to keep moving forward. And if we had a government that had the same mentality, that we have to keep moving forward, we have to learn from our mistakes, we have to learn from history. And
Yeah.
guess what? Let's include our entire community on these decisions, not just a small group behind closed doors, because that's what's happening. Executive
Right.
session is happening in these local communities and locking out the people. If that's what we're about. So if you're watching this and you agree with that, and you agree that it has to be of the people, by the people, for the people, in open meetings amongst the agora, amongst the people, then join us.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I'm excited to see people step up and run for office, to see our local communities really get to have a say in everything. Yeah, it's going to be exciting.
Yep. Absolutely.
And
All right.
we'll have announcements soon for other people that are running. So,
Yep. All right, Tony.
all right. Thanks. Thanks. Have a good
Yeah,
afternoon.
absolutely. Okay, so if you're watching this, go to We the People. Oh, WTP.
WTPWA.com.
Yes, absolutely. WTPWA.com and join us. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.